Hi everyone, my name is Kaylie and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Okay, hello everybody, happy Saturday. Just wanted to say, I'm kind of really feeling my background. Like, I've been getting situated in my apartment and I'm getting back to making everything girly and just exactly the way I like it. So I think we might keep this. Let me know what you guys think. Also, just got the nails done. And we are continuing this month with our high school horror stories. Well, just in general, horror stories of school, any type of school. Elementary, middle, high school, college. I mean, the elementary school is kind of pushing it because, like, if you have that bad of a horror story in elementary school, I sincerely hope that you're getting therapy. But we do have quite a few horror stories lined up for this month, and I have a few other ones. I was hoping to kind of take the horror story series into September. Let me know what you guys think about that. Also, if you guys have already had your first day of school, congratulations, you made it through. Let me know how it went down below in the comments. But other than that, I'm going to bring you guys up close. There we go. So for those of you who may be new here, we are going to do my quick usual little rundown. For most of the video, I will be looking in this direction because my mirror's over here and I would like to see what I'm doing. I do tell these story times in a first person point of view, so if you don't like that, then you can leave.
There's the door. There's the door, bitch!
And these story times are sent in by anonymous people. Now, have you guys ever wondered what it's like being the best friend who's always left out? You know, the one where the teacher says, okay, everybody grab a partner, and your two other best friends always choose each other, never want to be partners with you. Or the best friend that is always pushed into the street or onto the grass while walking because there's no room for you to walk beside your two best friends on the sidewalk. Well, actually, there is room. They just don't care to make any. Yeah, if you've ever wondered what that's like, you're at the perfect place because I'm gonna tell you what that's like today. The title of today's story time is What It's Like Being the Third Wheel Best Friend. Now, this whole situation happened whenever I was 15 and a freshman in high school. But we are going to rewind back to whenever I was in middle school. So I had been best friends with this girl who we are going to call Christina. And her and I had been best friends since we were, I would say, in like first grade. No crazy story on how we became best friends. It was literally just that we both liked playing with Barbies, and yeah. Now, throughout our school years, we had kind of, I would say, almost like recruited girls into like our friend group. We had a friend group of like 6 girls by the time we got into middle school because, you know, during elementary school we would all play tag and hide and seek with each other. So yeah, kind of built a friendship off of that. So, like I said, go into middle school with about a group of 6 girls, and whenever you get into middle school, in my school, there is one other elementary school that comes into the middle school at the same time, which was cool. And then that's whenever we had about like 2 more girls join our friend group. Honestly, these girls aren't really that important, so we aren't going to give them names. But when we got into 8th grade, we finally started getting into boys. Yes, the #1 problem starter between girls. So yeah, 8th grade, our friend group ended up having beef with another girl and her group of friends, mainly because we would all pass around the same guys, and y'all know how that goes. So this beef was like ongoing. It was never just one friend from each group beefing. It was literally like 3 of the girls in our friend group and 3 of the girls in that friend group beefing at the same time. Sometimes even the girls in our friend group would beef with each other because of Again, guys, #1 problem starter, but whatever, anyways. So we never tried to make amends with these girls. I mean, there was actually one time where the one like main girl of their group who Christina beefed with, and that girl's name was Jada. It was like right before Thanksgiving break was over. She had put us and all of the rest of our girlfriends into a group chat on Instagram or something, and she was like, hey guys, I really don't want to have to deal with the drama when we come back from break. Like, we're all in 8th grade and we don't need to be participating in petty drama anymore. So can we squash the beef? Now, Christina and I and everyone else in our friend group knew that this was complete bullshit, because this girl literally talked shit on everyone, including her own best friends. The only reason why Jada did this was that way she could get praise from I don't even know who for being the quote bigger person. You know, that one person who says, well, you know, like I tried, you know, to be the bigger person, but they just love drama so much. It's like, girl, bye. Anyways, to make this even more comical than it already was, we're like, yeah, sure, blah, 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 blah. And then she texts the group chat and she's like, okay, yay, I'm excited. We all should sit together at lunch tomorrow. And I'm like, girl, no, you know damn well. Whatever though, whatever. Like I said, she was on her bullshit. So fast forward to Wednesday, both of our friend groups sit at the same table, and it was Christina and I sitting on one side of the table, and then on the other, it was Jada and her best friend Ava. Things were literally so awkward between us. It was, yeah, just really awkward. So awkward that we started gossiping about old shit. One of us would be like, oh my gosh, do you guys remember when blah, blah, blah did this to blah, blah, blah? And then they would be like, oh my gosh, yeah, that was crazy. Moment of silence. And then Jada brings up Chris, the boy that her and Christina had been fighting over. Girl had some balls bringing that up, because what, you want to be friends and then you want to bring this shit up? Like, be so for real. What is the actual agenda here? Anyway, so Jada brings up Chris, and then Christina's like, oh my gosh, yeah, him and I hung out almost all summer. And that's whenever Jada gives Ava a side eye and then looks back at us and she's like, oh, that's funny. You could definitely tell that she was bothered, but you know, she quickly collected herself so that way she wouldn't show like any like sign of weakness, you know, just like some shit that animals do out in the wild. Like, I don't know if that made sense, but you know how like guys, you know, like male animals will like, you know, put on a show for the ladies, and then like the girls will like, you know, protect their territory. Yeah, that's what she was doing. She was like not letting, you know, not showing any sign of weakness. Anyway, so then she goes, yeah, well, I'm kind of over him now. Obviously, this day, after this lunch, we did not stick together for the rest of the year. Beef started again, literally 4 hours later, half an hour after school ended that day. Yeah. Because Jada went around telling everybody that she wanted to now fight Christina because Christina knew that she liked Chris and Christina was breaking girl code. We eventually found out the only reason why she actually wanted to squash the beef with us was because hopefully Christina would feel like she owes some kind of loyalty to Jada and she would maybe honor girl code when it came to Chris. So yeah, y'all get it. Whatever. Anyway, so let's fast forward to the summer before our freshman year in high school. Christina and I would usually hang out together all summer, but this summer her mom decided to sign her up for a summer camp because they were supposed to be in Europe for the whole summer. We had offered for Christina to stay at our house, but her parents said no. Honestly, her parents didn't really like me or my parents very much because we were lower class. I wish they had a better reason for not liking me, but that's literally the exact reason why. Am I kind of offended? Yeah, because I can't control how much money my parents make, the fuck? It was like this our entire friendship though. Like anytime that we had sleepovers, we had to stay the night at her house. Anytime that we would go anywhere, her parents would have to drive us. So yeah, anyways, like I said, you guys get it. Her mom put her in a summer camp, and I felt really bad for her because she was gonna be at camp with all of the girls that we didn't like. Because remember how I said that like in middle school, 2 of the schools would come together? Well, the only camp that her parents found that they liked was in the other school district, like the other elementary school district, if that makes sense. Anyway, so yeah, like I said, I felt bad for her. But fast forward to about 2 weeks before school started, she finally got home from camp, and as soon as she got home, we had FaceTimed, and she was updating me on everything that had went on, because while she was at camp, they weren't allowed to have their phones. The only people that she was allowed to contact were her parents, and that had to be through the phone that they had, the one phone that they had in the office there. So yeah, she's giving me all the updates, telling me the tea, and then she goes and she says, "You're never gonna guess what happened." And I'm like, "Oh, what happened?" And she's like, "So Jada and I are low-key best friends."
Bruh.
As soon as I heard this, I almost choked on oxygen, because I'm like, what the fuck? First of all, friends is one thing, but best friends? What the fuck am I? A roach? At that point I should have been. Cause like, what the fuck? Anyways, so yeah, she says this and I'm like, what do you mean best friends? That's a little concerning. And she laughs and she's like, well, you know, Jada's actually super nice and we actually have a lot in common. And she's actually really funny. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. You know, I'm happy that you made friends. I was trying not to sound bitter and jealous, but I wasn't doing too good of a job at that, obviously. And then it got even worse. Whatever she said. Yeah, her and I are going to my grandparents' house this weekend. I'm honestly so excited for all of us to be in school together. I was a little upset whenever she said that she was taking just Jada to her grandparents' house, because that was literally our tradition. Like, every year since 1st grade, her and I have been going to her grandparents' house like the weekend or 2 weekends before school started. Anyway, so I get off the phone with her, and for the next like 2 weeks before school starts, I was texting her and calling her, asking if she wanted to hang out, because we hadn't seen each other all summer. But I made sure not to blow up her phone while she was at her grandparents' house with Jada, because I did not want to be that person. So yeah, you know, she was barely answering any of my text or phone calls. And this really upset me because I'm starting to feel like I'm forgotten about. It wasn't even like her and Jada had plans to hang out every single day before school started. Like when she would answer the phone, I would be like, hey, do you want to hang out, blah, blah, blah. And she would be like, well, actually, I was gonna ask Jada if she wanted to hang out today. And I'm like, what the fuck? But I just asked you. Yeah, it honestly, as you could imagine, it was super fucking annoying. Like I would ask her, hey, do you want to go to the movies? She'd be like, sorry, I just asked Jada if she wanted to hang out. And that's exactly how she would say it. Now, Christina and I had also made plans at the beginning of the summer to go to high school orientation together. So of course, I text her the night before and I'm like, hey, are you still picking me up tomorrow? Or should my mom drive me to your house tonight? And she texted me and she's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, high school orientation, question mark. And she goes, OMG, I totally forgot about that. I'm actually at Jada's house right now. So I'll probably just go with her and then we'll see you there tomorrow. Or no, she said, hopefully we'll see you there tomorrow. Yes, the high school orientation thing upset me, right? But what upset me even more was the fact that she was sleeping over Jada's house. Because it's not like Jada had more money than me or anything. We literally lived 5 minutes away from each other in like the same hood. So when it comes to that, I honestly just kind of figured that her parents literally just did not like me, because it doesn't make any fucking sense. It just doesn't make any fucking sense. So not only is she making me feel bad about myself, but her parents are. Now I know her parents aren't purposely making me feel bad about myself. They don't even fucking know. but you guys get it. Anyway, so as you guys have probably guessed, her and I did not end up going to orientation together. Honestly, I hoped this whole being best friends with Jada thing was just a phase that she was going through. Like, in reality, the only reason that her and Jada ever became, quote, best friends is because she didn't have anybody else to hang out with at camp. Like, to be honest, I figured that whenever we, you know, started high school, her and Jada would eventually get into some drama and Christina would realize why she hated Jada in the first place. And then Christina and I could go back to living our normal, happy lives as best friends. But this couldn't have been further from what actually happened. So school started, right? Now, I hadn't seen Jada since last year, so I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't sure if she would be mean to me, or if she had changed her ways and would all of a sudden now be nice, or if she would just ignore me. But honestly, I didn't really care because I was just really hoping that this would all be over soon, like a bad dream. Now, I would say the first day of school, I was kind of a little bit mopey because I was still down about the whole high school orientation thing. I honestly didn't end up going. It wasn't like mandatory or anything, but I just didn't want to have to go there and see Jada and Christina together, especially with the way that Christina had been treating me. So yeah, anyways, I walk into school, I find my locker, and on the outside of the doors, the teachers put the list of students who would be in their class for home period or something, homeroom. So I go, I look at the list and I see that Jada, Christina, and I are all in the same home period, homeroom. Now, honestly, I thought that this could be good because now maybe Jada and I would be able to get to know each other a little bit better. So I walk into the classroom and I see Jada and Christina sitting next to each other. And when I walked in, Jada looked up from her phone, but she just didn't say anything to me. And then Christina, you know, she said hi to me. And then I'm like, oh yeah, like I wasn't able to make it to the orientation. How was it? And while I'm talking, trying to make conversation to my best friend, Christina completely ignores me and cuts me off saying, oh my gosh, Jada, look at this. And then she shows Jada her phone. And then her and Jada start looking at something on her phone, completely ignoring me. Obviously, this made me feel really left out again because everyone in the room could tell that I was the odd one out. Not that any of them were paying attention, but if they were, they would definitely be able to tell that, yeah, I was that one friend. Because they're sitting there all close huddled together, looking at each other's phones, laughing, giggling, and whispering. And I'm sitting literally right next to them. Like, there's a clear separation between those two, and then there's me. So I'm sitting there trying to look busy on my phone, even though I was really just clicking through apps, opening them, closing them over and over again until the bell finally rang for first period, thank goodness, because that was torture. But I didn't have many classes with Christina and Jada. All three of us only had one class together besides homeroom, and that was science. And then I had one other class with Christina, which was language arts, and I had one class with Jada, which was gym. Now, Christina and Jada, on the other hand, had each other in almost every single class, except for the ones that they had with me. Anyways, so fast forward, after first period, I see Christina and Jada at Christina's locker. So I walk over and I say hi to them, and then I ask Christina, hey, did you just have Spanish? And then she goes, yeah, it was super boring, honestly. And then she starts talking to Jada again. And now we're standing there, and like I said, she turns her head, she's talking to Jada, and while she's talking to Jada, she has the locker door open like this, so it's like literally in front of my face. I mean, I guess it was my fault for like standing there in the first place, but she still could have opened the door wide enough all the way so that way I could be included. So, you know, after like a few minutes of me standing there with them quietly while they conversated, I knew which way the Spanish room was because we literally walked her there before we went to our classes, but I just wanted to make conversation and be a part of the fucking conversation. So I asked her, I'm like, oh yeah, which way is the Spanish room again? After I asked this, she snaps at me. This is exactly how this went. She goes, it's straight down that hallway. I don't have time to explain where all your classes are. Maybe you should have came to orientation like we did. My thing is, this was the only class that I asked her where it was. We weren't in homeroom talking about where classes were, anything like that. Like, she literally just said that to be a bitch. So then there's like an awkward silence where Jada's just staring at me and Christina's like, and I'm just standing there. I low-key wanted to cry because I felt like I was a kid being yelled at or like purposely embarrassed. And then she turns her head, starts talking to Jada again, slams her locker door, and they both walk away. Now, out of Christina and Jada, I expected this from Jada, okay? But I did not expect this from my best friend. Like, I hadn't seen Jada in a whole year since we had beef back in 8th grade, which wasn't even mine to begin with. It was literally between her and Christina. And yet she hasn't said one word to me. She hasn't joined in whenever Christina's been treating me like shit, which is another thing. When someone who is supposed to be close to you, like your best friend, your boyfriend, your sister, you know, whoever, treat you like shit in front of other random people, do not let them get away with that, because that is showing these other random people that they can treat you like shit and get away with it because your best friend even treats you like shit. So, you know, fast forward to science class, the desks were put in pairs of 2s, of course. And when I walk in, I see Jada sitting by herself. So I decide to sit at the desk in front of her because I don't know her well enough to just go and sit directly by her yet, you know? So when Christina walks in, I'm like, oh, Christina, sit here. I saved a seat for you. She's like, I'm sorry, I have to talk to Jada real quick. She runs over, sits right next to Jada. Of course, that's exactly when the bell rings. And then the teacher goes, okay, everybody, I hope that you are comfortable and able to behave with the person that you're sitting next to because these are your seats for the rest of the year. Now I was upset because I didn't have anybody to sit next to. So while the teacher is going over what we're gonna be learning for the whole year, I hear Jada and Christina sitting behind me laughing, giggling, and whispering. Once again, I felt really left out. And then Christina taps me on the shoulder and she's like, what did she just say? And I go to tell her, and then the teacher calls me out and she's like, excuse me, turn around please. Don't make me regret giving you guys the privilege of sitting next to who you want to. And I'm not gonna tolerate people not paying attention in my class because when I say something once, I'm not saying it again. Obviously, she said this directed all at me. Like, she literally stared at me the whole time that she said this. So yeah, that also really annoyed me. Like, it was extremely embarrassing. So yeah, that was embarrassing. Fast forward, anytime that we all walked in the hallways together, it was always Christina and Jada, super close next to each other, looking at each other's phones, laughing, giggling, taking Snapchats together. And then there would be me, who was sitting there walking and just periodically checking my phone, and also getting pushed into people, you know, getting shoulder checked by people because there was no room for me. So I would always have to walk behind them as well. And if any of you are wondering why I didn't just join in the conversation, I did. Trust me, I did. Like, I have tried including myself multiple times, but any time that I tried, they would just look at me and then do like a little fake laugh, like, and then they would go back to talking to each other. Now let's fast forward to lunch. Yes. I was standing in line with some of the other girls from our now merged friend groups. They were nice, they kind of included me in their conversations, but like, everyone had their own best friend in these friend groups, you know? Fast forward, get to the lunch table. I'm a little bit late because I had just came from gym. Oh, and Jada switched out of my gym class to be in Christina's gym class. So when I get to the lunch table, I was gonna sit across from Christina and Jada, but our other two friends were sitting there. And then I tried to sit next to Christina and she was like, oh, sorry, Jenna asked me to save this seat for her because it's next to Kelsey. By that time, the rest of the table was filled up and the only seat that was left, or the only seats, were the ones at the complete opposite end of the table. So I sat at the end of the table by myself, nobody sitting across from me to talk to. And you know, I'm trying to make conversation with the girls, but they're all busy talking to their own best friends. Not really interested in anything that I have to say. Kind of sucked. Yeah, I felt like extremely awkward, but this went on for the next few weeks. And you would think that over time, Jada and I would have gotten a little bit closer, but no, of course not. She eventually had gotten switched into one of my classes, but the class of mine that she was switched into, she would just hang out with her other friends in that class and not me. Well, thankfully, eventually Christina and her family go on like this mini vacation. So the only person that I had in homeroom and in school really at all that week was Jada. I just want to add this in here real quick. I do think that Christina could have done a better job of introducing Jada and I to each other and getting us all to like be friends. Because as soon as she left, Jada and I hit it off. She was super funny, we had a lot in common. And I was also super happy because Jada was like catching me up on all the fucking drama that I did not know about. So now whenever Christina and Jada are talking, I can actually join in the conversation. Because literally, when I tell you, I barely knew anything that was going on with Jada and Christina, even though I was around them almost all the time. I literally knew like absolutely nothing. Because typically, Christina and Jada would have inside jokes or conversations that I couldn't be a part of, because whenever I would ask what they were laughing or talking about, Christina would say, oh, it's an inside joke, or oh, it's too much to explain, you wouldn't understand, you had to be there. Yeah. Anyway, so during that whole week, Jada and I got super close, and we actually even started like texting and talking like 24/7. And yeah, like I said, she was super nice. Honestly, I really needed like that to happen, because lately I had been feeling like such a waste of space. Like I was feeling so depressed. Well, fast forward, Christina comes back to school and she was back on the same bullshit, but surprisingly this time Jada was the one who was kind of including me in everything. Anytime that they were having a conversation, she would make sure to include me. And whenever they got to lunch, she would make sure to save me a seat next to them, because like I said, I would get to lunch later than them because they usually wouldn't let us out until after the bell when it came to our gym class. Did not expect that one. I thought that whenever Christina came back, she was gonna see that like Jada and I were getting along and she would feel more comfortable now talking to us both about things, but she was still doing the same shit. I mean, to be honest, it kind of seemed like Christina was getting annoyed by this. Yeah, just because she kind of started being shady towards me. Like for example, the one day we were in homeroom and Christina shows Jada something on her phone, and Jada's like, oh my goodness, that's so funny, you have to show her. Her meaning me. And Jada would be like, no, I don't want to tell her. And then Jada would look at her and she'd be like, why? It's not that serious. And then eventually she would be like, okay, but you can't tell anyone. And then she would tell me some shit that I already knew. Like it would be some bullshit about like a guy that she had a crush on. She acted like it was some big secret, because it's totally not like she made it obvious whenever she asked her friends to go up to him and ask if he liked her. I honestly think the only reason why she was doing this was to be petty. Well, fast forward, the one day I'm late to lunch per usual, and when I get to the table, I go to sit next to Jada, but Christina made Jada sit at the end of the table so she couldn't save me a seat next to her. And when I got to the table, I went over and Jada's like, I'm sorry, I tried to save you a seat. And then Christina goes, I just don't think it's fair for us to be holding seats for people. Like, whoever gets here first should get the seat. Jenna and Megan were here first, so they got to sit there. And then she like announced it to the whole table, acting like she was talking to everybody, but meanwhile I knew that it was directed towards me. She goes, if you're not here to the table early enough to get the seat that you wanted, oh well, get here earlier. No, come on girl, you could have literally just said it to me. And she said it while I was standing there, so everybody knew that it was about me. Like, I don't know what I did to this girl, but she really disliked me. My own best friend. Like, okay girly. Anyways, honestly, I could tell that she was being petty. I had no idea why, but I just accepted it because whatever. It's like a weird space to be in because, you know, Jada's making me feel super included with everybody. She's adding me to the group FaceTime calls, saving me seats during lunch, you know, keeping me up with the drama, you know, helping me to be involved in the conversations. But then on the other hand, I have Christina who, whenever we're on a group FaceTime call, she'll be like, oh my gosh, Jada, check your text messages. And then Jada, you know, she'll be like, okay. And then she'll be like, oh, Jada, I have to tell you something. End the call real quick. Now we're gonna fast forward to February. This whole situation, it's been ongoing. Christina making my life harder, even though she was supposed to be my best friend. But then listen to this. All of a sudden, Christina and Jada get into a fight. Not physically, of course, but they start fighting over that guy, Chris, again. At this point, I didn't want any part in their fights because I didn't want to end up in the same situation where I choose someone's side and then they become best friends again, and then it's awkward between me and whoever the person's side that I didn't pick. But Christina felt the complete opposite. Let me just start from whenever I found out, okay? So, you know, the one night I'm just chilling at home and then I get a text from Christina saying, ew, I'm so done with Jada. And you know, usually people are like, OMG, like, you know, what's the tea? What happened? To be quite frank with you guys, I didn't really give a shit, but I was like, OMG, no, what happened? What did she do? And she's like, what didn't this bitch do? And I'm like, I don't know, bro. That's why I fucking asked you. So then she goes, she's back on her bullshit again. She's mad that Chris and I have been hanging out lately. And I'm like, I thought she didn't like Chris anymore. And she's like, of course she does. Who doesn't she like? She's a fucking hoe. And I'm like, all right there, calm down, bring it down. Okay. Fast forward the next day, Christina texts me again and she's like, tomorrow you and I are gonna sit at the opposite end of the lunch table because I don't even want to be near her.
Wait, who?
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, what do you mean by you and I? She responded, she was like, well, you're my best friend. Obviously, you're supposed to have my back in this situation. And in my head, I'm sitting there thinking, wow, now I'm your best friend. How fucking convenient. I text her back and I'm like, well, I honestly think Jada's a cool person and I don't have a problem with her. I'm not gonna start beef with her, especially when y'all are just fighting over a fucking guy. Then she replies with, okay, well, you can be friends with that bitch. That's probably why you two get along so well. You're both two-faced as fuck. And then she hangs up the phone. And I'm just like, girl, be so fucking for real. Be so fucking for real. So later I go on Snapchat and I see that Jada posts a picture of the side of her face and her crying, and the caption says, I hate boys. So I swipe up on her story and I'm like, hey, are you okay? And then she FaceTimes me and she's like, wow, I'm surprised you're even talking to me. And I'm like, why? And she's like, well, Christina didn't tell you what happened. And I'm like, no, she didn't. I always say this just to get like both sides of the story. And she's like, Christina seriously didn't tell you? And I'm like, no, and both of you are my best friends, so I'm not just gonna stop talking to one of you if the other one is upset. And that's whenever she tells me that she doesn't think that I should be friends with Christina anymore. And when I ask her why, she starts showing me text messages that Christina has sent to Jada about me. I'm not gonna lie, they were pretty hurtful. Now, I don't know if Jada just didn't show me the ones where she was talking shit on me as well, but in all the screenshots, it was Christina starting the conversation about how I was so annoying. Like in one of the screenshots, she says, wow, I wish that she would just find new friends. And then Jada would respond with, well, I think she's funny. And then Christina would respond with, well, she has to be. She knows that because she knows that we wouldn't be friends with her. She doesn't bring anything else to the table.
Emotional, damn it.
So then I'm like, all right, but these are just screenshots. She could be making this up. So then I'm like, can you screen share and show me? She does. Feelings hurt even more. So then I'm like, all right, well, since we're doing a show and tell, I show her what Christina said about her. You know, about her being a two-faced bitch and a slut. After seeing this, Jada decided to confront Christina, and this all happened on a Sunday night. Fast forward to Monday morning. I get to school. I haven't heard anything about what was going on. I haven't gotten any text messages from anyone. And I was quite happy about it because I was like, great, I'm not in the middle anymore. They can duke it out for themselves. Wrong as fuck. Wrong as fuck. I walk into homeroom. I see them sitting next to each other. And I walk over to them and I'm like, did you two make up? And then they both looked at each other and then looked me up and down. And I'm like, what's going on? And then Christina's like, do you want to tell her or should I? And Jada just looks at her and then looks at me and then looks back down at her phone. So then Christina goes, okay, well, I guess I'll tell you. She looked at me and she was like, honestly, you're a fake bitch. The fact that you had Jada's back last night and not mine is ridiculous. I'm supposed to be your best friend, so that just shows that you're a snake. And the fact that you had the audacity to tell Jada what I said about her, but not what you said about her. The only reason why I said that shit about her was because I was upset. It was a heat in the moment. I didn't actually mean it. You, on the other hand, the things that you said, you actually meant because you didn't have any reason to talk about her like that. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And she's like, oh my God, don't play dumb. And this is whenever Christina says, don't play dumb. You know what I'm talking about. You told me that you don't like her, you think she's a slut, and that she always comes to school looking super dirty. And I'm like, I never said any of that. And of course, before I could, you know, defend myself a little bit more, the bell rings. So they get up, they walk out, leaving me just standing there, confused as fuck. So then I text Jada during first period and I'm like, I never said any of those things about you. But then Jada texted me back and she's like, I saw the screenshots and it kind of makes sense because you never made an effort to speak to me or get to know me. But it is what it is. I don't care anymore. Here's my thing though, she didn't make an effort to get to know me or hang out with me either. So even more of a what the fuck moment. So as you can imagine, the classes that I had with them were awkward as fuck. And during science, they made sure to talk loud enough for me to hear them, but not loud enough so the teacher could hear them, obviously. And they were saying things like, I hate people who are two-faced. Most of the time though, it's like a jealousy thing. And honestly, if I looked like that, I would be jealous of us too. And then that's whenever they start talking about my appearance. They're like, yeah, people who don't get haircuts are so dirty. And the only reason why they were saying that was because I straightened my hair so much and I had a lot of split ends because of it. But yeah, it was just like little petty things like that. Fast forward to lunch. Yes. So I get there late per usual and I sat at the opposite end of the table and it was like, you know, there must have been an announcement made that everybody should make fun of me. Everyone at the table started talking super loud about me. They were like, oh my gosh, I could not imagine wearing the same clothes that I wore in middle school to high school. Some people's parents obviously don't care about their kids. Imagine having parents that didn't care about you. Yeah, obviously they're talking about me because I would wear my older sister's hand-me-downs. We didn't have money to go clothes shopping every school year for new clothes. And also, why would I not wear the same clothes that I already have if they still fit me and they still look newer than the clothes that you're wearing to school? Come on now, be so fucking for real. Well then, almost every girl at the table had packed a lunch except for me and 3 of the other girls, which those 3 girls, they ended up getting pizza. I ended up getting this spaghetti that they were serving. And so they're all sitting there and they're like, oh my gosh, her food smells so gross. Like, I can't sit here. And they were all like, yeah, like it smells like puke. I don't know how she can eat that, blah, 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 blah. So then they get up from the table and they literally sit at the table behind me. And while I'm sitting there, they are blowing spitballs at me and calling me names. After this, I decided to go home because I was not about to stay at school for this. So yeah, I faked sick, went home. And when I got home, I just went to my room and I literally bawled my eyes out because I didn't have any friends. Literally none. I ended up telling my older sister about what happened. And since she was a junior in high school, obviously we went to the same school. So she said that I could sit with her and her friends. I also switched classes, all of my classes that I had with them actually, because I did not want to be in any of the same classes as them. Like, I would literally rather have no friends at all than be friends with people who clearly did not give a shit about me. And for some reason, Christina just had this weird obsession with Jada, to the point where she lied about me so her and Jada could be friends and I would be kicked out of the group. The worst part is, I say kicked out of the group, but if we're being honest, I was never even in the group in the first place, so joke's on me, I guess. But now I am a junior in high school, and karma's a bitch because, let me just tell you, Christina got pregnant by Chris, so she doesn't have any friends anymore because Chris and Jada were dating. You guys will probably already know where this is going. Yep, Christina got pregnant with Chris while Jada and him were in a relationship. Christina does online school now. She tried to reach back out to me, and listen, I'm all about forgiving people. She apologized. I accepted her apology, but I refuse to hang out with her. As for me and Jada, we squashed our beef, especially once she found out that I did not say any of those things, and Christina was just weirdly obsessed with her. And thankfully, I had my sister and her friends to hang out with for the rest of that year until I found my own friends. Moral of this story is that it is better to have no friends at all than friends that treat you like shit. Because listen, I promise you, as soon as you cut those toxic people out of your life, others will be drawn to you because of your good energy. Like, when you surround yourself with negative people, why would you attract anything positive? It might seem lonely at first, but I promise, give it time and everything will end up working out. And moral of the story for those of you who are like Christina, make sure that you're nice to everyone, okay? And I know this sounds like your usual, oh, be nice, da-da-da type of speech, okay? But listen, look at the position that Christina is in now. She was a bully, and now she has no friends. Not only did she betray her best friend, but she was also what seemed like a bitch to everyone else around her. And you never know what's gonna happen to you. One minute you can be standing on top of the world, and the next you could be 100 feet below in a ditch. And you have to think to yourself, are there going to be people there to help me out of that ditch when I'm falling? Or are there gonna be people there to catch me when I fall? Or are they just gonna let me fall in the ditch? Or is nobody gonna try to catch you and nobody gonna help you up because you were an asshole to everyone around you and nobody cares if you make it out alive or not? Just think about that. Okay, everybody, that is the end of today's story time. If you guys like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more, maybe hit that subscribe button down below. And if you want to know whenever I post my next video, make sure to click that bell. And if you guys want to send in your anonymous story time, or you want to know how to send in your anonymous story time, make sure to click the links down below in the description. But other than that, I will see you guys next Saturday with a new story time.